Hello everybody and welcome. I am the Beta Plan and this is Vampyr. It's time to talk to the rest of the staff, for instance the doctors and everything else that we haven't seen yet in this area. After all, we have just been appointed to the staff and we would like to know more about our colleagues.
Good evening, sir.
So it is true. The famous Dr. Reed has joined us. I can't think of any better news during these terrible times.
Do we know each other?
Actually, yes. We met once before, at the Rockefeller University in New York.
Dr. Tippett, yes, I remember. I was assisting Professor Carell in his research about coronary bypasses. He had nothing but praise for you.
He was also very confident about your future. And look at you now. Eminent surgeon and blood transfusion specialist.
Well, at least someone has a high opinion of us that may actually be grounded upon something and somebody that we know. Could be a light in the dark.
You're exhausting yourself, Corcoran. Maybe you should think about preserving your strength.
No, we must keep on healing all those poor souls. We are the last rampart before chaos. Once more unto the breach.
Nurse Brannigan is worried about you, Doctor.
She should not have told you that. I will have a word with her.
You don't have to blame her for her honesty.
I'm not that kind of man, my dear Jonathan. Actually, Nurse Brannigan's opinion is the only one I may listen to.
Darn it, and now we've blabbed it and now she will never like us anymore. Well, that is the problem that you have when you can't save and when you don't have the freaking full answer. Though, in this case it was more his reaction to me, which I possibly should not have done that before dipping a little bit into his personality.
What is the Pembroke Hospital situation? And please, speak freely.
This hospital is not exactly the best of London. I'm sure you are used to working in a better environment.
It's more than enough. In any case, the personnel of a hospital are much more important to me than the building.
Don't be misled by appearances, Dr. Reed. This hospital does not lack talented people. It just lacks hope.
By the way, yes, I didn't even look at the other answers there because this would be my answer immediately upon confronted with such a question.
What can you tell me about the staff in the hospital?
Some are really good, and others are not so good. But during this troubled period, there is no time for slander. I prefer to focus on the positive character traits.
Okay, so.
Tell me more about cherished people, then.
Nurse Brannigan is a pearl. She is the most helpful and dedicated nurse I've ever worked with. A clever and cheerful woman.
You really seem to admire her skills.
I'll go even further. If she was a man, she would be a damn fine practitioner.
Ah, and here we have the sexist issue in the 1900s. No, it's still the 1800s, right? It's the 19th century, but still the 1800s. English is confusing that way. But yeah, women were not allowed to do a lot of jobs because they were just for men.
Any opinion about the management?
I don't always agree with Dr. Swansea's reserve, but I must admit he does all he can to keep this facility running during this crisis.
Ah yes, the burden of command. I was fed up with this concept while serving as a medical officer.
Don't get me wrong. Swansea's a good administrator. I just wish he would get out of his office now and again.
Well, he has in order to recruit me. Does that not bode well? I need way more.
Goodbye, Dr. Tippett.
Well, we'll have to find the nurse for a moment. I do like, by the way, that you gain XP for getting these personal questions. And yeah, I have to talk to her because I just blabbed.
Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
Why does Dr. Tippett claim you're the main reason he keeps working?
despite his fatigue.
If it wasn't for him, I probably would have left the Pembroke years ago.
Dr. Tippett does not think of you as just a nurse anymore, does he?
If you're suggesting he's not taking my gender into consideration when it comes to medical practice and knowledge, I really hope he doesn't.
This already we kind of knew, actually.
I'm not familiar.
Brilliant.
Most.
It would be inappropriate.
I could say speak up, but and you could get a hint from that, but I have the feeling that that might just not be the right thing. No, you know what? We're gonna do it. We'll just try.
Good evening, Doctor.
And besides, this vision is a little better.
I'm not familiar.
Brilliant.
Most.
It would.
Let's go. I hope I don't mess up here.
Nurse Brannigan, if you do know something, please tell me. Anything you say will be held in confidence.
No. I may disagree with some conduct, but in the end, everybody is doing their best.
That is such a more diplomatic request than just saying speak up. I was really afraid we were going to demand it, and this I find a lot better. Okay, she doesn't like that we've asked it, but this is
Call me if you need assistance.
diplomatic. This is how I would have requested such a thing. So I'm a much more happy man. Please, full answers. The city needs you. Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Can I help you?
Unless you're here to fix my face. No. I don't think you can help me.
I'm Dr. Reed. I've recently taken the position of head surgeon here. War injuries, am I right?
You guessed right, Doctor. German shell took my pretty little mug right off. But they still call me Thomas Elwood.
Well, your nose is still intact.
How is your stay with us, Mr. Elwood?
Oh, it's bliss. I just escaped death in the trenches to be surrounded again by the moans of the dying.
Can I ask you precisely why you're a patient here?
It's the pain, sir. The drugs don't work. It just hurts under the scars, if you get my drift.
Who is treating you? Is someone in particular looking after your case?
Nobody since the old and tired doctor spoke to me. Started to think I was forgotten about. Wouldn't blame you.
You don't seem worried by that.
My face hurts so much more when I smile or cry. I've learned it's easier not to speak. But be assured I'm smiling inside.
Can I do anything for your pain?
Nurses gave me a bunch of pills. No effect. Told you. It's like the flames are under my skin, burning away.
Where were you stationed, sir? Did you serve for long?
I really don't want to talk about all this shit.
No offense. I was pushing too much. I served in France myself. I just wanted to know what happened to you.
You were an officer, weren't you? Then I doubt we fought the same war, sir. No offense.
I had hoped to connect with him, but indeed, if I am an officer and he is just a soldier, he...
Bye for now, Mr. Elwood.
Disgust on every street corner. The daily routine.
I had hoped to therefore gain a little bit of connection to him, but unfortunately it wasn't the case. There are so many people you can speak with. This is so awesome, and also...
I wish I could be sick again. Feel my blood boil with the fever.
What? That's weird to say.
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon at the Pembroke Hospital. And who are you?
Your name has no meaning to me, mortal. You're nothing but dust blown by the winds of eternity.
I beg your pardon?
What are you begging for, mortal? My clemency? Well, tonight maybe I'm inclined to mercy. You'll never forget the night you met Thelma Howcroft.
You keep calling me mortal. Why is that? And if I'm mortal, what are you?
Well, Dr. Reed, if you must know, I'm a vampire.
Is that truly so, or have you gone mad by the disease?
I'm assuming you must be a patient here. Am I right, Miss Howcroft?
It's only a cover. To hide from my enemies. I can leave whenever I want. As a woman, a spirit, fog, or bat.
Who are these enemies you mentioned? Can you describe them?
I cannot say for sure. But I sense their eyes on me from nearby. I feel them watching me every time I visit the garden near the morgue.
I think we've taken care of those.
The staff here are not your enemy. They're here to help you, to care for you.
I'm not speaking of the doctors in white. I'm speaking of the men and women who hunt me. For I am a vampire.
I see. Don't worry. These people will not find you here. I'll personally make sure they leave you alone.
Thank you, mortal. But do not interfere with them, for you are no match for those that hunt me.
Wrong target, new investigation. Yeah, I'm starting to think that she's absolutely not a vampire.
And why do you believe you're a vampire?
I don't need to believe anything. It is what I am. It is what I feel within this hollow shell of flesh.
Please, describe to me how you feel. What is it like to be a vampire?
I can hear my body crumble from the inside as my flesh cracks and fades. I sense the last pulse of postulant blood within my drying veins. I need new blood.
I see. Have you ever heard of Cotard syndrome, Miss Howcroft?
Never.
It's a mental illness discovered by a French neurologist named Jules Cotard. The affected patients are delusional. They believe that they are putrefying, that they are dead, a ghost or a ghoul, or in your case, a vampire.
Delusional, you say? Oh, sad and petty mortal. You can't even begin to understand the concept of immortality. And you think it is I who am delusional.
As far as I have the feeling is that you do have to exhaust every option with everybody to find out all the kinds of hints, but yeah, I don't think you are a vampire, my lady. You're way too obvious about it.
Who are you really, Miss Howcroft? I mean, apart from being a vampire.
Is that not enough for you, puny mortal? What do you require? Proof of my powers?
I'm curious to know who you were before becoming a vampire.
No, it was such a long time ago, I don't remember. Centuries of unholy life can have strange effects on one's minds, you see?
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
What your last thoughts would be, sir?
I also saw... Ah, how are you doing?
Good evening, Mr. Hampton. How do you feel?
Dr. Reed, is it? Oh, sir, I must apologize for my behavior.
What do you mean?
I was not myself in the factory. Fear and exhaustion made me say awful things to you, I'm afraid.
You remained perfectly nice and polite. A little delirious, perhaps. But who wouldn't be after enduring an abduction?
Thank you, Doctor. That's a relief. Now all I need to do is rest and return to my flock.
You keep saying that, but where is your flock? I would wonder. This is going to be an episode with a lot of talks, folks. Lot less combat, lot more talks. Just be aware of that. So, if that's not your thing, you probably have shut the video off by now already, unless you were hoping perhaps for some witty comment from my side. But otherwise, just giving you a heads up about 1/3 into the video. 1/4.
How did you end up in William Bishop's den?
I had received alarming news about his recent behavior. I went to his place and he refused to let me go.
Why did he abduct you?
William was an alcoholic. His addiction suddenly changed to blood. I don't know why. Just like a patient I met here. This Miss Hawcroft.
Hey.
You dared to enter this awful place alone. You're a hero, Mr. Hampton. Or a fool.
I'm just a man trying to help his friends, Dr. Reed. William Bishop was a conflicted soul, searching for light.
If you say so, priest. You would know better than I do.
Do you know Tom Watts, the bartender from the Turtle? I met him before I found you in the canning factory.
Tom? Yes, of course. Always the helping hand, good old Tom. Without men like him, corruption and despair would have wiped out the East End long ago.
People are still in despair.
How could it be otherwise? The authorities have left us all to rot in this contagious nightmare. No drugs, no advice, nothing. It's a damn shame.
Who should I avoid in this part of town, then? Any particularly evil figures?
Not really. Most men and women are just doing their best. And it's not my habit to speak ill of people I know, Doctor.
That I understand. I wouldn't see that as part of your character.
What is the general situation in the East End docks?
The situation has always been tough, with a lot of tensions between the gangs and the Dockers' trade union. The Wet Boot Boys are very nervous since they lost their leader.
Has the gang been threatening you?
Ah, no. I've had this nickname for so long, you know, the sad saint of the East End. No one dares to bug a saint, not even criminals.
It's a good thing at least something stops them.
Who leads the gang now?
Since Clay Cox went missing, it's his wife Edwina who runs the show, with the assistance of her minion, Booth Digby.
Hey, but Clay Cox we saved. That could be good for us. Very good.
Have you made friends since you arrived?
Not really, but I recognize Miss Harriet Jones. I knew her when she lived by the docks. That poor woman had such a miserable life.
You never came to see her here at Pembroke? Receiving visits when sick can be an important part of the healing process, you know. We're not just bodies.
You're preaching to the converted now, Doctor. To be truly honest, I thought she was dead. She left the docks many months ago.
How do you feel, Mr. Hampton? Medically speaking, I mean.
I feel exhausted. Beyond exhaustion, actually. William drank so much of my blood in his madness. I feel empty.
You're in good hands here. Dr. Swansea is well versed in blood transfusion, and I'm sure he'll take the best care of you.
Thank you, sir. I believe all I need is rest. And then I can go back to the people who need me.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Hampton? I can't help but notice the cross around your neck.
I manage a night asylum for the poor and homeless of the docks. And I try to guide the lost and hesitant on the right path to our Lord.
Are you a priest, Mr. Hampton? A deacon, maybe?
Not at all, Doctor. I'm just a man of faith willing to preach the good word.
Why didn't you use your cross against William Bishop? To repel him somehow?
That's a very strange question, Doctor. A cross is no magical token, if that's what you were trying to say. Not mine, anyway.
But it worked for our current employer. He certainly backed me up with that.
Goodbye, Mr. Hampton. We'll talk again later.
Well, more of the lower floor to explore. On this side. You are a doctor I don't think I've met before yet.
Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reed. Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
So it seems everybody is in this hospital.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
That doesn't say much about yourself, to be truly honest.
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
Well.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
And here I have the feeling that he might become a bad man. Because in games, always the scientist that wants to go a little further for his research is put up as the bad guy. That's not always the case though, but alright.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, yet my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have time.
Alright.
You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. We're not smiling now.
I also like the way Jonathan speaks. It feels to me like it's slightly archaic English in the sense that it does feel more from the time than it would be from our time. Though I have been told that I use this type of English myself. Did I already ask those? Yes. So...
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him, or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father, ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
I will tell him this regarding the fact that he's a doctor, though normally I myself would have a problem with this.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior, a man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings, with desires, hopes and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones and flesh.
Yeah, that is always the difficulty for a doctor, that you are indeed have to do with a real person, despite the fact that you're trying to fix a biological machine and have to remain impartial in certain ways. Certainly during epidemics. I do not envy your job, Dr. Strickland. Wow, and there are way more doctors I have the feeling than nurses are. Because he just mentioned yet another nurse that I've yet to meet. You I have met. You I haven't. Have I?
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed.
No.
I believe we're going to be colleagues.
Reed? Yes, I've been informed about your arrival. I'm Waverly Ackroyd. Welcome aboard, I suppose.
Does my arrival inconvenience you in some way, Dr. Ackroyd?
Let us just say that I don't particularly share Dr. Swansea's enthusiasm for hiring you. What we need here are reliable professionals, not overrated dabblers.
Ah, I'm getting a sense of your personality now, dear sir.
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
I would have to see what is up with this patient.
And are you not afraid that your rivalry with Strickland may be blinding you?
Rivalry? I guess you could call it that. But I will never be childish enough to let my personal feelings affect my judgment.
Why do you wish to lead this surgery?
I strongly believe that Mr. Fiddick should not be butchered to test an unproven procedure.
And now I'm already forced to pick a side. That's not exactly what I had hoped. I would have loved to talk to the patient first, before I say I trust your judgment. It's a conservative point of view, or you will assume the consequences. Which is true for a doctor, so I'm going to go with this one.
If you are going to lead this surgery, I'm trusting you to assume the consequences of your actions, whatever the result.
I'm not the kind of man who runs away from his responsibilities, Dr. Reed. There is no need for you to be looking over my shoulder.
Since your tenure in this hospital is longer than mine, perhaps you can tell me more about this place.
Let's just say I'm tired of the carelessness around me. I have always respected the skills of Dr. Swansea, but over time his enthusiasm has become displaced.
Carelessness? Exactly what are you talking about?
We're here to save lives. The people who trust us are not volunteering for experimentation. They're here to be healed.
I don't intend to run any radical experiments, Doctor. Even if I, as any good practitioner should, express an interest in pushing the boundaries of medical research.
Modern medical methods were created through audacity and ego. But there are rules in our line of work, and they're here to protect our patients.
If you have a problem with me, Dr. Ackroyd, please feel free to tell me.
Dr. Swansea has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've never met before, but I believe this hospital could use all the help it can get. You will agree with that, I'm sure.
Oh, but I have heard about you, Dr. Reed. Of course, you can't say the same about me, since I have not wasted my time courting the press.
Yeah, sorry.
Aren't you too old for such jealousy? It really won't do you any good, you know.
Don't be ridiculous, Dr. Reed. A simple glance is enough for me to know you have nothing for me to envy.
I don't believe that is true, otherwise your tone would not be such in a way. I mean, certainly you could feel that I have doing it the wrong way, experimental, but there is this undertone of, I don't need this tone. That nagging undertone is what telling me that there is a jealousy in it. At least to my personal feeling.
I don't know what you've heard about me, but I have already proved my value as a practitioner.
I don't question your skills, Dr. Reed, but your motive. Is it money, fame, or are you truly dedicated?
And what exactly is that supposed to mean?
I served in the war just like you. But unlike you, I did not use the wounded to play the modern sorcerer.
Be careful what you insinuate, Dr. Ackroyd.
I only want you to admit you used those men to improve your theories.
Excuse me? Either this one or that one. Knowledge is our main weapon, which is true, and I've saved many lives, but that sounds extremely defensive, so...
Knowledge has always been and will remain our main weapon, and it has always come at a price. And personal initiative.
It is not a question of initiative, it is a question of integrity. These men and women have put their faith in us, Dr. Reed.
And there are also quite a few people that go to doctors for experimental treatments in their last hope to survive, Doctor.
It seems you have bad memories of your military service.
I refuse to see this industrial slaughter as scientific progress. War only reveals the worst in men.
We can at least agree on something, Dr. Ackroyd.
that I do indeed full-heartedly agree with.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
I don't think Dr. Aykroyd is per se a bad man, not at all. I think that that would be overstating it way too harshly. There's so many bloody patients to talk to. Don't even have enough time in this episode. Perhaps I will just make this episode even extra long, just to get this over with. Holy heck!
Good evening, madam. Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
How do you know, my lady? But, do you have complaints about your reception here?
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived. But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is there something in particular that's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
May I ask if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
I'm a teacher by profession. I teach young women who are more ambitious about their futures than their families.
That's actually not a bad thing considering the time, but,
Are you really that rich? Most of the patients here are of a more humble origin, if I may say so.
Yes, thanks to my husband. May he rest in peace. I can cover any needed medical expenses.
alright. Well, that is a good thing, but I do want to know something, Mrs. Goswick.
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
What?
She charged you for a bed?
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll talk to the people involved.
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
Well, I know of Milton, but I didn't know she charged for the bloody bed. That's just not... She might have done it in order to help the hospital, but then the funds should go to the hospital, not to her personally, and that's a little bit what I'm concerned with. Hint required, so many hints required. This is already done.
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
Alright, her son. Let's look at him for a moment. What's up? I wonder actually if you're in problems. That's this patient. By the way, I'm just going to grab a few glass of vials here. You know, lowering the already low medical supplies even more.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I help at all?
No.
Really? Why are you here then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'm sure you realize a doctor and his patient have to communicate, sir. Would it help if I gave you some paper and a pen?
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just your throat that hurts, Mr. Goswick. Perhaps your sore throat is just the consequence of something more hurtful.
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even write about it now.
He might have tried to hang himself.
Why did your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm here. She'd go all the way to hell and back to help me.
Is your mother bothering you? As your doctor, I can ask her to leave you alone if you would prefer.
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no idea what my mother is capable of. She would tie herself to my bed if you asked her to leave.
Pembroke Hospital may look unorthodox, but rest assured you're in good hands here.
It's not me you have to convince, Dr. Reed. It's my mother.
I don't... Your life in London does not would not be for me logical that would go about your throat, but alright. I would consider that more personal questions, but...
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Coswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
Yeah, I can't really help you if you don't want to talk.
Go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
Don't waste your time with me.
Well...
You always knew the words to calm the children, Helen. As for me, what a blundering idiot.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. May I help you?
I don't know if a third opinion is needed. Your colleagues are already arguing about my condition.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your situation?
I'm Harvey Fiddick. All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
It's just a broken arm, that you don't need a blood transfusion?
Are you satisfied with your treatment here?
Well, it's clear that I've chosen a bad time to be injured. Forgive my bluntness, but you seem overwhelmed by cases of the flu.
I won't lie to you about it. I'm afraid we are.
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed? I have the feeling you're very capable. And your colleagues seem to think so too.
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take on the responsibility. My apologies. Tell me about the doctors who are arguing about your case.
Strickland and Ackroyd. They both want the best for me, but there's a lot of pride there. Doctors are no different from carpenters, it seems.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on a building site. Difference is I disagreed about wooden nails, not flesh and bones.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Fiddick.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed, so I can return to work and to my family.
I was more curious about what you were doing before being hospitalized.
I'm a carpenter, and a good one too. But that means I need both arms to feed my family, Dr. Reed.
Well, we already kind of knew this information, but alright.
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
What?
How could your job be responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
Okay, now I'm confused. A German bomb raid. 1814 is it when this plays, right? Is it 1914? Have I always missed the number? Is this the First World War era? Is that why... I think I've been doing this all wrong now all of a sudden. Oh my dear God, I feel like an idiot.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick. Unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
I understand that.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was
Yep.
in the army. Building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
I've been 100 years off for some odd reason. I apologize.
I'm sorry for your loss. So many died during the bombings. I served in France and witnessed the carnage there.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer. Truth is, I have no idea. I just know that I'm all that me kids have. Poor little bleeders.
Which already was quite surprising for the environment that we had here, but considering they're also vampires, I took that for granted. Perhaps my romantic folly.
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Ellen didn't bring them with her that night.
Alright.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
Always knew the words to calm the children, Ellen. As for me,
Still more coming.
what a blundering idiot.
How can we be sure we're making a difference?
Due to influenza, this hospital can no longer take any patients. Alright. Out onto the streets. The fact that we have everywhere everything open. Prevent disease, careless spitting. Yeah, don't cough in public. I think we have almost done the rounds. I think this is the older doctor, right? Need to see his face. I think so.
I'm quite busy right now, Dr. Reed.
Oh, that was Aykroyd, sorry.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later.
Sorry, he was indeed busy. I was just wondering who he was. Why are all the doors
said she was
open?
being watched by vampire hunters. Where are they hiding?
Oh, that is
Investigate.
that is going outside here. Crumpled letter. Inventory. Fire and Sun. I haven't met 3 people yet, but that's not what I'm looking for. Wait, why? Oh, these are my local investigations. Right, I need to have this done, that done. Alright, I can track those, so I will put this on track. And I can reach the... okay, I can only do 1. But where's my inventory? Oh, these are the other districts, and I haven't all looked at them yet. Okay. I just found a crumpled note, and I would love it if I could look at it. Collectibles. Oh, here perhaps. This is my because this is my inventory. Torn page of a diary. That's not exactly what I wanted to do. Sorry, folks. But this is Brena. These are the Pitman orders that we found. So it goes from right to left. Photograph in a wallet, we saw those. Did we give that back to Milton? But alright. Dear love, I finally found the missing money for the fee asked by the ambulance driver to bring you to the hospital. Don't worry about nothing now except getting better, for I took care of everything. I asked some of our neighbors and they told me that this Mr. Hooks is something of an honest crook. He may ask for extra money in exchange for a bed, but the bed is then guaranteed. I'm sorry I refused to pay first, and I realize now that this important thing is to get you better soon. The Pembroke Hospital is a good place, I heard, despite the bad behavior of this Milton Hooks. I promise you that everything is okay now. I'll see you in a clean bed as soon as possible. Fondest love, Nikolai. Oh. Alright. Bit of an honest crook, they say. So, if I go one more time to the quests I have, I'm tracking this one now. Found out who was spying on her. This is probably... Name of mercy, that depends on you. Nurses are needed now. Yeah. But if I look at the map, do I get a clue? There's a merchant there. Wrong target is in this area, but that's all I'm getting. Alright.
I understand you must be very angry about managed to arrange to have you buried in the same mass grave as your wife.
I cannot enter.
Buried in the same mass grave as your wife? There's a doctor here. Ah, I can't even enter. Hello? Who are
Good
you?
evening. I'm Dr. Reed.
Always a pleasure to meet a colleague, sir. Especially when he was supposedly dead.
A colleague. Are you a doctor too?
Not anymore, sir. I used to be Dr. Rakesh Chadana. Now, I'm just Mr. Chadana, pawnbroker and humble guardian of this morgue.
What do you mean, you used to be a doctor? Was your license revoked?
No, sir. It is just that I like to be precise. I run a little pawn shop while taking care of the dead. But I used to be a real doctor.
And you were talking to the dead people about arranging you to be buried in the same place, and there's all kinds of things you can take of the dead people that I can't enter. What's going on here?
Are you afraid or uneasy being surrounded by so many corpses?
Why should I? These bodies are empty vessels. Flesh left to decay. Poof. No soul anymore. All gone.
An interesting point of view. And quite an exotic one, too. Most people fear, or at least have a respect, for dead flesh.
Sir, as a medic during the war, I learned to face my death and the death of others. It's the pain we have to take, not death itself.
How did you get this job?
After I left the army, I worked as an undertaker down by the docks. A dangerous place with many an unpleasant business there. Milton Hooks helped me get a job here.
Do you work here alone?
Yes, very easy work, sir. All I have to do is watch a few bodies. The situation was very different when the main morgue was still open.
Why do you have to watch these bodies?
Because these poor fellows have no names. We keep them in case someone comes looking for the missing. Sadly, very rarely happens.
Also dangerous, because these dead bodies do have the capability of spreading the plague while lying around.
Why close the hospital's main morgue?
It was for sanitary reasons after the beginning of the epidemic. Cadavers had to be moved to the nearest mass grave.
And does she now have them lying in the open? That doesn't seem to quite add up.
Have we met before?
I don't think so, sir. Why?
When we first talked, you said you were glad to meet me since I was reported dead.
Funny story, sir. Your sister came here a few nights ago. You were missing, and she was looking for your body. She must be very relieved now.
Ouch.
A pawnbroker? I expect you get all types of people here.
Yes, sir. All kind of people. For I sell all kind of goods.
Who comes here to trade with you? It's very unhygienic, even unsafe. Diseases can spread. For the customers, for the hospital.
I'm very cautious, sir. I've been a doctor, remember? And all my clients are good people. In fact, I think I only know good people.
What kind of goods?
With the quarantine, it's not always easy to buy things. So I trade, I exchange. Some people sell, some others buy. I like to help.
Since you're not afraid of dying, do you believe in life after death, Rakesh?
No. I believe we must do all the good we can while alive. For our time is short, and the obstacles are endless.
Do you think you would enjoy immortality as a concept?
I don't think so. Don't mistake me. I love life, and I'd like to live a long life. But everything has to decay, sir. Even goodwill.
I find this very interesting because most Indians are of some Buddhist or Hindu form, which both have a form of reincarnation in their belief.
Do you really believe goodwill cannot last?
As I said, sir, everything decays. If I was to never die, goodness, I would be bored or worse. And I like to be helpful, sir.
Quite depressing, wouldn't you say?
Yes, but the good news is, we'll all die before losing our humanity, sir.
Interesting point of view.
So you're ready to die?
No, I am not. I don't fear death, for I won't see it. What troubles me is the pain my death will inflict to those I know.
You're a wise man, Mr. Chidana.
No, Dr. Reed. I am a foolish man. But I like to think otherwise.
Alright, and with that, I think it is high time I ended this episode. It's already lasting way too long. But, oh my dear God, this game is, well, has its grip on me, that is for sure. If you like these long episodes, let me know in the comments. If you dislike them, by all means, tell me that I should really crop them up in half hours, as I usually do. But there is just so much to discover here in this game that, yowza, it is a difficult thing for sure to stop playing at all. But in the meantime, I say I thank you for watching, and remember, great peril yields great beauty.